All right. Welcome to the Week 14 predictions episode of the Lewis and Laraib podcast. I'm your host, Lewis. Next to me is my beautiful co-host, Laraib. As we are going into Week 14, it's crazy how fast this season has flown by, but we are finally at that time. Playoffs are right around the corner, and we are excited to get into a lot of really good games this week as a lot of playoff implications rest on most of these games. So, Laraib, let's just, hop right on to it then, huh?
Yeah, why not? Let's start off with the 12 o'clock schedule. We have the Texans playing against the Bears. Houston -1 in this game. And let me just start off with the Texans, okay? They're going to finish this season, with a, under sub-500 record. But Deshaun Watson has been such a bright spot for this team, especially these past couple of weeks. And I expect him to have a big game against his Bears defense, which has been struggling the past couple of weeks. We just saw Matthew Stafford have, a 400 passing yard game against the Bears last week. And, this Bears, defensive line, they've been struggling with injuries. Khalil Mack hasn't been 100%. Keem Hicks has been in and out of the lineup all season long. So I'm expecting Deshaun Watson, he might have a little bit of trouble with the Bears defense. We know how good they are in the secondary. But look for him to have, another great game.
Yeah, I will say a lot of injuries to Deshaun Watson's weapons. As we already know, Will Fuller is out with the suspension, but Brandon Cook suffered another concussion on Sunday. He did return to that game, so he is likely to play in this matchup. And as for the Bears, this is a constant reminder of who you passed up in the draft. You passed up on this man, Deshaun Watson, and he has every right and every motivation to come in here and prove why you messed up. And Mitch Trubisky will be your starter for this week. There's no doubt about that. He didn't have necessarily a bad game against Detroit, but he's playing a comparable defense, not as good, or just not, on the same caliber defense, both not good defenses, the Texans and the Lions. So I really expect this outcome to sway in the favor of Houston, but maybe you can convince me otherwise, Laura.
No. I'm definitely going with Houston. Deshaun Watson, like we've raving on about him all year long, and he has the third highest pass rating in the NFL right now. And, can we trust Mitchell Trubisky at all? Last week was a prove-it game for them if they wanted to get into the playoffs. And, they lost that game, and they're basically out. And even with, Allen Robinson and David Montgomery, they still haven't been able to muster that much on offense. So give me the Texans in this one. Give me the Texans 24, Bears 17.
I do think the Bears running game will get back on track in this game against one of the worst rushing defenses in the entire NFL. So this game will be very close. Plus, it is at Soldier Field. Texans haven't had many outside games in the cold this season, so it might be different for them. However, I trust Deshaun Watson more than I do Mitch Trubisky, and that's how this game is going to go for me. Both teams kind of out of the playoff race, so not like there's too much riding on the outcome of this game for either teams, but I'm going to go with the Texans here, finishing off this season strong after such a slow start. Give me a score of 24-23. Last-second field goal by Kaimi Fairbairn wins them the game. But we are now going to move on to our next game of the 12 o'clock slate, where we have the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals quarterback situation is, of course, in dire need after they lost Joe Burrow. Now they're not going to have Brandon Allen available for this game, so the starter will likely be Ryan Finley for this matchup, who they already benched for just performance issues earlier in the season. So I know this is not the quarterback they'd want to turn to in this game. So it's hard for me not to pick the Cowboys because at least the Cowboys have a starting quarterback caliber, and maybe it's a revenge game for Andy Dalton as he goes back to Cincinnati. There's no fans there, but he still knows all the coaching staff. He knows a lot of the players, so it'll be a big night for him. And I think, against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, he'll be able to work a lot of the back-end stuff with CeeDee Lamb. He got Amari Cooper going last week with a touchdown late in that game, so maybe that connection can keep on going into this game. So I see Andy Dalton having a good game, and I think the Cowboys get out of this one pretty easily.
Yeah, both these teams lost their starting quarterback. Nothing to look forward to for the season. Maybe the Cowboys, maybe they can sneak into the playoffs, but not really. I think the football team and the Giants definitely have a comparable lead over both of those teams, or over the Cowboys. And this game, not a lot of people are going to watch it, but it's going to be the Andy Dalton revenge game. And just have to go with the Cowboys, just like you, just because the Bengals with the third string quarterback, and then we've seen the Cowboys. They haven't been playing, or their record doesn't look that good, but they've been playing decent. They were in that game with the Ravens at halftime, just a little bit. So give me the Cowboys in this one, 27-17.
I will say one thing about this Bengals defense. It has been playing much better the past few weeks, holding its opponents to an average of 20 points per game over the last 5 weeks. So that's definitely nothing to scoff at. And the big thing for this Bengals team was their inability to stop people on defense. So, I'm hoping that there's hope for next season if this defense can really come into like an in-season form and start to play very well, so the team can see what they need and what they don't need to build on. So there's things looking up for this team, but I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this game. I like the quarterback more. An Andy Dalton revenge game, I think he's going to get his revenge. Give me 27-17, Bengals win this one. Or Cowboys win this one, excuse me.
All right, similar scores for both of us, but let's move on to another 12 o'clock game. We have the Chiefs going up against the Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium. The Chiefs in this game -7. And, I think this is going to be Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a little bit of warm-up for him playing against a better defense than he has been all season long. Looking forward to the Saints game that's coming up the week after this one. So it's going to be a big game for him to see how he plays in this one. But, no, same with the Dolphins. They've been, probably the biggest success story of 2020, especially how well they've been playing in the back half of the season. But they're also going to have their hands full with MVP frontrunner Patrick Mahomes. And, I really don't see the Chiefs losing this game at all. I know Tua, he's been able to do enough to keep the Dolphins in close games against lesser opponents. But this week, he's going to have to put up, that 30 points, that 35 points if he's going to want to beat this Chiefs high explosive offense.
You're absolutely right, Laraib. And the big thing with Tua, he's faced a lot of so-so offenses in the games he started. I know he played against Kyler Murray, but the defense has really stepped up, so he didn't have to do too much on that end. But you're playing against the Super Bowl champions. This is the perfect gauge for a young Miami Dolphins team to see really where they're at. I think this game will be competitive. I know the spread is 7 points. I think it'll be closer than that. But I just do not think Tua can match Patrick Mahomes. And I think this game might get into a situation where it's going to be Mahomes, 2 minutes left in the ball game, and you could essentially forfeit from there because you know what he's going to do with the ball. So give me a late touchdown, go-ahead touchdown by Patrick Mahomes to win them the game. I'm going to go higher scoring. I'm going to go 35-31. Chiefs win this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to go complete opposite of you. I also think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the Chiefs get out to an early lead, and then the Dolphins just score some garbage time touchdowns and make it look closer than it is. But so give me the Chiefs 30, Dolphins 24.
All right, moving on now. We have a surprisingly good game that a few weeks ago, if you were to tell me this was the matchup, we would have just glossed over it very quickly. But all of a sudden, the Giants hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 3. But the past 4 weeks for both these teams have been completely different stories. The Cardinals are 1-3 in their last 4, only winning that Hail Murray game over the Buffalo Bills. And the Giants are 4-0 in their last 4 games. So the Giants, theoretically, with a win in this game, they would overtake the Cardinals in the standings in the NFC via a tiebreaker. So even if the football team wins the division, maybe the Giants can get in as a wild card. You could have 2 NFC East teams in the playoffs, as crazy as that sounds, but I do not think that is the case. Focusing on this game specifically, Kyler Murray has not looked good in the past few weeks, and you've seen what defenses have been very good against him. It's been the Patriots, it's been the Lions, it's been the Dolphins, and what's similar about those 3 teams? Bill Belichick disciples, or Bill Belichick himself. And now you're going into a game against Joe Judge, who is a Bill Belichick disciple himself, and the defensive coordinator, who is also from the Patriots system. And it's a copycat league, and a lot of these guys, they have the same terminology, the same coaching mindset. And we've seen what has given Kyler Murray the most trouble. It is that must rush, not letting him get outside of the pocket. Don't let him beat you with his legs. So that also means do not over pursue when going for the quarterback. Just kind of muddy it up. Don't let any big holes open up for him to get through the middle. Let him stretch to the outside and have it contained. That's what they do so well. They take away your best weapon. And the Cardinals' best weapon is Kyler Murray. Now, I've also have a few concerns regarding the usage of DeAndre Hopkins the last 4 weeks, as the routes he's been running have been very vanilla, very simple. I mean, I feel like they need to do more with DeAndre Hopkins, but defenses are now starting to figure out Kyler Murray does not like throwing to the middle of the field unless it's a quick slant or a super deep post, because he just simply cannot see over those 6'7" offensive linemen. So a lot of the bread and butter things that Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins did in Houston, utilizing him over the middle, letting him get like a 12-yard in and breaking a few tackles to get like 27 yards or something like that. That's just not a part of this offense. It's a lot of out routes. It's a lot of comebacks, a lot of deep posts, and that's essentially it for Kyler Murray in this passing game with DeAndre Hopkins. When you have a receiver who we both think is the best receiver in football, you need to get him more involved. And you have a very tough task this week with a James Bradbury and really good secondary of the New York Giants coming into town after they shut down DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett last week. So I like what the Giants scheme can do against Kyler Murray. It's all about how legit is this Cardinals team? Were we overrating them? Or was it just a few bad weeks and they'll get it back on track this week?
Yeah, and then you flip it on over to the other side of the ball with the New York Giants. Colt McCoy came in last week. He did a stellar job, was able to eke out the win against the Seahawks last week. And this week, I believe Daniel Jones will be back. And one underrated thing that's been not a lot of people have been talking about for this football or New York football team has been their running game. Saquon Barkley goes down early on the season, and along with you bring in Devonta Freeman, he doesn't play that well. But Wayne Gallman has revolutionized the running game in New York, taking the pressure off of whoever is going to be or whoever is the quarterback for this team right now. And I expect for him to have a big game. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield and a great runner between those zone reads. He had a great game against the Seahawks last week. So expect more of the same this week. And then with Daniel Jones back in the lineup, I know sometimes he can be a little bit turnover heavy, but he's been able to control it in this back half of the season. So I think the Giants are due for another nice win to make them 5-0 in the past couple of weeks. Giving the Giants in this one, I think it's going to be pretty close, but Giants 24, Cardinals 21.
This is very tough for me after seeing what the Giants were able to do. But I am going to go with the Cardinals in this matchup purely from a stance where you're 6-6. You're not out of the playoffs yet. I know this team is young, but you've seen success against good teams in the NFL. And I know the Giants are super hot right now, but it's about time they need a loss pretty soon to really bring them back down to earth. And I think Kyler Murray gets back on track this week, even though all the things I said about defensively, what the Giants will be able to do against Kyler Murray, I just think somehow he gets it going. And if Daniel Jones comes back, I don't necessarily trust him in a big moment now that his team is playing super well and they have all the spotlights on them with they just got a Sunday night game. Is he going to be able to handle that pressure? I think not. So give me the Cardinals and Kyler Murray in this game. I'm going to go Cardinals 28 to Giants 24. It's going to be very, very close. Probably one of the best games of this 12 o'clock slate. I'm very excited to watch this one.
Yep, that's for sure. But moving on to another game, we have the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay -6.5 in this game. And let's talk about this Vikings team. Okay, early on in the season, they dropped a whole bunch of games, and they looked like they were out of the playoffs. But now they've been able to claw their way back into the playoffs and sitting pretty at 6-6. This is going to be a tough game for them, traveling to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers after their bye week. And I think this is going to be, wrong time, wrong place type of game for the Vikings. We know what they are on offense. It's mostly Dalvin Cook rushing. And going up against the Tampa Bay, top-ranked run defense, they're going to have their hands full. So it's going to be all on Kirk Cousins. I know they've been able to get, Justin Jefferson has played good all year along with Adam Thielen. And if they have a shot in this game, they're going to have to expose that secondary of the Buccaneers, which we've seen has been susceptible, this season. So I think the key for the Vikings is going to be try to set up the play action and get those deep routes to Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen if you want to win this game.
Yeah, and as for the Tampa side of the ball, I think it's simple for them. They've only allowed 74 rushing yards per game. The emphasis is stopping Dalvin Cook because no matter what, no matter how good Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are, no matter how versatile this offense has seemed in the past few weeks, this team understands what the Vikings know they need to do to win, and that is feed Dalvin Cook because Dalvin Cook is the engine for this team. I know Kirk Cousins has played well recently, and the Buccaneers, this is their strength on strength. Whenever we have matchups like these, it's always the most exciting. Dalvin Cook leads the league in rushing yards per game. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers team leads the league in rushing yards allowed. So, the other way, you know what I mean. So you're in a situation now where strength on strength. These are always super exciting matchups. So can Kirk Cousins beat you in a shootout? Because this Vikings defense, although it has played well recently, it has really not played well enough to convince me it can stop a Tom Brady at home, even though Tom Brady has not been very good at home this season. Coming off a bye week, getting that connection, getting that chemistry back with his receivers. So give me Tampa in this matchup. I just think they have way too much firepower for the Vikings defense to handle, and you're going to be put in a position where not only is Dalvin Cook going to be neutralized by this defensive front, but if you get down early in this game, he'll basically be taken out of the game, and you'll be forced to beat Tampa with your arm. So if Kirk Cousins doesn't make any mistakes, it's going to be a really fun, high-scoring game. But if Kirk Cousins gets a little too greedy on some passes, too greedy so he can see Justin Jefferson do the gritty, then he might see some of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defenders doing the gritty in the other end zone. So give me Tampa in this game. I'm going to go 34-28. Pretty big win for Tampa.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. This is going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to pick the other team. I think the Vikings, this is going to be a big game for them if they want to keep their hold in the playoffs. I know they're ahead of the Cardinals right now, so this is going to, this is going to be a big game for them. And I have to go with the Vikings. I think I can trust Kirk Cousins just a little bit more than I have earlier on in the season. And like I said earlier, the Tampa Bay defense, the one area where they can get exposed is that secondary. So I think we're going to have a shootout on our hands here on the 12 o'clock schedule. And the Vikings will be my upset for this week. Give me the Minnesota Vikings.
So hold up. Do you trust Kirk Cousins more than Tom Brady? I just want to ask.
No, but I need an upset for this week so you don't fucking berate me after we're done with the podcast and you're like, dude, you can't do that. So give me the Vikings 31-28.
Outstanding. So let's move on now to our next game of the week. We have the Denver Broncos traveling to Carolina to face the Carolina Panthers. Storyline in this game is 2-4-8.
Christian McCaffrey is not playing.
Christian McCaffrey is not playing. Drew Lock is average, below average. Yeah, give me Carolina in this one. They just have a better team. Carolina 27, Broncos 23.
Well, you're skipping over some of the big talking points of this game. Last Sunday night,
Super Bowl rematch. What am I talking about?
Well, last week we saw, if I told you in the last 5 minutes of a Broncos-Chiefs game that the Broncos would have a shot to win that game, you would have told me I'm crazy.
You're crazy.
That's exactly the situation that we had. And, if Drew Lock doesn't throw 2 interceptions in that game, maybe it's a little bit different. But that's who Drew Lock is. He's a turnover machine. And that's what he's going to do against this week. Jeremy Chin, if you want to put on a showcase and win Defensive Rookie of the Year, go out and have a big game against Drew Lock. Even without Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis all season long has had a great, great as a replacement for him. And Robbie Anderson, Gigi Moore, they have great rapport with Teddy Bridgewater all season long. So just give me the Panthers in this one, 27-21.
All right, let's move on now to our next game of the NFL week as we are seeing the Tennessee Titans travel to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. This seems like a very big revenge game for the Tennessee Titans as they just got embarrassed at home against the Browns. They need to take all their frustration out, all Derrick Henry's frustration out on this poor Jags team. But the Jaguars, although they have lost 11 games in a row, This is a very competitive team, and every team it seems like the next few weeks it's, well, you almost lost to Jacksonville. Well, so did the Packers, so did the Colts, so did the Vikings
Well, the
last week.
Colts did lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exactly. All these teams are almost losing to Jacksonville. So it shows you at least they're staying in games. At least you're seeing that competitiveness, that they're not trying to tank. They're not trying to quit. They're not pulling any, tank plays on a Hail Mary just so they can stay in the race. Saying that, though, they're going to get walloped this week by the Derrick Henry-led Titans. I just think it's an absolute mismatch on the defensive front. I like some of the good young players for this Jacksonville defense, but if I remind you of a game last season in which Derrick Henry was playing at Jacksonville late in the season, he only broke off a 99-yard rushing touchdown to really give the Titans the dub in this one. Now, unfortunately, we won't be seeing those mustard yellow jerseys against those Titans baby blue jerseys, which we love that matchup so much. But this game will still be interesting, as I really like what James Robinson has done this season for the Titans offense, or for the Jaguars offense. But I don't think Mike Glennon can outscore this Titans offense. So give me the Titans in this game. I'm going to go 41 to Jacksonville, 27.
Well, you're not giving the Jacksonville Jaguars that much credit. We saw last week Mike Glennon had a comparable game. And like you said, James Robinson has been playing well. And the Titans defense, which we saw Baker Mayfield just absolutely light up last Sunday. So Mike Glennon and this Jaguars team, if you want to go out and tank your draft stock a little bit more, you can go out and win this game. But no, I have to take the Titans. We know Derrick Henry's history against this Jaguars team. I'm expecting a lot more of the same this week. Even the Titans, 31 to Jaguars, 21.
All right, that sounds good. So now we're going to move on to the next game of the week. Already so many really good games. Even the Titans-Jaguars games, a lot of exciting players on both sides of the field. But that will conclude the 12 o'clock slate as we move now into the afternoon games, starting with the Colts traveling to Las Vegas to face the Las Vegas Raiders. Indianapolis favored by 3. Hold up. Let me check that again.
Indianapolis favored by 3.
Indianapolis favored by 3. This is a tough game for me to predict, as I really don't know what I'm getting from either of these teams any week of the season. I liked what I saw from the Raiders offense last week. They really came alive and they won them that game. But there's the huge caveat of, well, it was against the Jets. And the Colts offense, who finally got T.Y. Hilton going last week, they just fizzled out in the second half. It seemed like they were going to continue their pace of scoring, and then the Texans defense all of a sudden showed up and stopped them for the rest of the game. So that was a bit concerning for me as well. But this game is huge because this is huge playoff implications. The winner of this game will take the sole possession of the number 7 seed in the AFC. And if somehow the Raiders lose this game, they are going to be 2.5 games behind the Colts, which is just no man's land if you're trying to catch them to make the playoffs with only 3 games left. So this is a huge game for the Raiders. Matchup-wise, I've always been impressed with this Raiders offensive line all season, but they're facing a good defensive front with the Colts. The Colts aren't necessarily the biggest defensive front, but they're quick, they're fast, and they can get after the passer. And Derek Carr took a lot of shots the past few weeks against the Falcons and the Jets. So I expect this Colts defense to get home. And Darius Leonard to be matched up on Darren Waller has been that could be a good matchup for them. He's very good in coverage. So I don't expect Darren Waller to go off like he did last week against this Colts defense. So I like the Colts in this matchup.
Yeah, and then, for a Raiders team that we were just so high on, if you would have asked me, this is a game that you and I both were looking forward to, and we still are, but just not as much as we were 2 weeks ago. And that's just been how bad this Raiders team has been playing. And the Colts team has been really inconsistent. They get blown out by the Titans, and then they blow out the Titans. So, all season long inconsistencies. But I just have to trust the Colts in this one a lot more. The strong suit of the Colts team is a run game. And against the Raiders run defense, who just gave up big yards last week to Ty Johnson and Josh Adams, the backup running backs for the Jets. Why can't Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins do the same. So look for Indianapolis just ground and pound the ball. And for the Raiders, I mean, I really don't know because are they going to come out and just drop duds on us? Or are they going to actually play? But give me the Colts. I think it's going to be a close one. Derek Carr can keep it close, but I think just that rushing attack of the Colts will win them this game. So give me the Colts 27, Raiders 24.
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot of similar vibes as you are with this game. It's hard to predict either of these teams, how they've been playing all season. You see great flashes from both of them, but I like the experience on this Indianapolis Colts more than I do on the Raiders. And I think this game, even in Las Vegas, will not be too troubling. This defense will not give Phillip Rivers that many problems, and I think he'll have a really good day as he has the past few weeks, starting to find his rhythm within this Frank Reich offense. So give me the Colts. I'm going to go a bit higher scoring than you. I'm going to go 31-28. Still going to be a really close game.
Yep. Moving on to another 3 o'clock game. We have the Jets playing against the Seahawks. Seahawks minus 13.5, the biggest spread of this week so far. And, I mean, is there really much to talk about in this game? The Jets team, they haven't been getting blown out all season long, but we just saw the absolute embarrassment that they had last week to the Raiders. And this week you're playing a lot better offense against Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde, they were limited last week against the Giants, but now they're rested up. A couple of weeks of, practice has really gotten them going. And now look for them to have a much bigger role in a game against the Seahawks team that is very, very upset after a loss they had last week to the Giants.
Yeah, after a tough loss like that, you can go one of two ways. You can either spiral down and just keep on losing, or you bounce back from it as an even better team. And thankfully for the Seahawks, they have a very easy matchup to bounce back from that loss last week, despite losing to another New York team. However, what I'll say about this Jets team, this is a Jamal Adams revenge game, as we remember how upset he was with that franchise during his tenure there and how he was looking forward to this game coming into this season. Now, no fans in the building, so it won't be as exciting, but we'll see how much of an impact he has on the outcome of this game, because I know he's going to want this game very, very bad against his former team, former coach. So I expect him to have a very good game. And this Seahawks defense, I really expect them to play with their hair on fire. The big thing for me, I need to see this Seattle offense come back alive. Russell Wilson, only 4 touchdowns in the past 4 weeks, will simply not get it done when your defense is simply not that good. And against the Jets, you have a much better matchup. Hopefully it won't get into a goal and go situation like it was last week against the Raiders, but I expect DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett to abuse those young corners in New York. So give me the Seahawks in this matchup. I'm going to go, pretty easy game. They get out clean, get out to a big lead to start. Give me 31-12.
12. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with you. The Jets pass defense is ranked last in DVOA. So big games from Wilson, Metcalf, and Lockett. But hopefully I'm going against, the fantasy playoffs are upon us, and I am going against DK Metcalf. So I pray that he doesn't score too many touchdowns in this one. But give me Seattle 34, Jets 20.
All right, moving on to our next game of the week, we have the Detroit Lions hosting the Green Bay Packers. Packers favored by 7.5 in this game. Why should I believe in the Detroit Lions? Yes, they beat the Bears. And this NFC North outside of Green Bay has been the most confusing to predict all season. You had a Minnesota Vikings team completely flip their record in the latter half of this season after starting 1-5. Now they went 5-1 out of their last 6, and they're 6-6. And as for the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears, they started out decent, and then they absolutely suck now. So the thing about the Detroit Lions in this game is, can that offense continue clicking like they have been the past few weeks? Marvin Jones has really come on strong in this receiving game after missing the first few weeks with injury and the loss of Kenny Golladay. Look, the weakness of this Chicago or against this Green Bay team is their run defense, but I do not think Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift are the running backs that can really put it to the Packers in this matchup. Expect Aaron Jones to have a very big game as the Detroit Lions run defense is the worst in the entire NFL. And we saw what he did against them in week 3 this season when he almost ran for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against them. So I expect a very big dub for the Packers in this matchup as they are still trying to chase the Saints for the sole possession of that number 1 seed.
Yeah, and last week, we talked about the Chiefs against the Broncos, and that was, Patrick Mahomes' coronation as the MVP frontrunner. For this game right here, maybe it's Aaron Rodgers' coronation for the lead as MVP. And look for him in a big game. I know early on the season he did have one against this Lions team. And I know it can be exposed on the ground game, but just like you're saying, maybe DeAndre Swift and AP can get something going. But I just don't see how their offense can keep up with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. So give me the Packers in this one, 31-24.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think it'll be that close, quite honestly. I just think this is a classic Packers just getting it done on the road. We saw last year there was the game where Mason Crosby missed 4 field goals and an extra point, which allowed Detroit to win at home last season. And I think they just remember that and that they were going to take advantage of this opportunity. They're not going to be punked by the Lions, and they're going to get out of here pretty clean. I'm going to go 36-22. I mean, not much of a contest here in Detroit.
Yep. So moving on to another game at the 3 o'clock schedule, we have the Saints playing against the Eagles. Saints -6.5. Lewis, why don't you go ahead and start us off for this one?
Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a very interesting game. Just based off the quarterback. So we've been talking about all week. Jalen Hurts will be getting his first start against the New Orleans Saints. But how different is it going to be from Carson Wentz, as he has been the backup all season, and they're now just turning to him, which is strange because outside of a 4th and 18 touchdown, which yes, it was very impressive. He did not look very good coming in against the Packers. Was sacked 3 times on 12 dropbacks and threw an interception in that matchup. So the big thing for me in this game is, can they get consistency on 3rd down against the Saints? The Saints, as good of a defense as they've been all season, struggle sometimes in certain 3rd and long situations. But if you cannot run the ball on the Saints and keep getting put in those 3rd and longs, this is a New Orleans defense that will absolutely come after you and get to your quarterback, as they're 2nd in the league in sacks. And Sean Payton has just some vendetta against Doug Peterson and likes to put it to him every single time they play. So I think this is a matchup in which the Saints quite honestly dominate defensively and make the Eagles look dumb for putting Jalen Hurts in, quite honestly.
Yeah, and talking about that Saints defense in the past 5 games, they averaged only 8.8 defense or points allowed. So, and going up against a rookie quarterback in Jalen Hurts, who really hasn't had that much experience this season, I think this is going to be an utter, destruction by the Saints. I know, normally the Saints, you think of them in the dome, but now they're outside. But this is not going to be a big issue because it's not Drew Brees at quarterback. It's Taysom Hill. And, we saw what happened to the Eagles' run D last week. I thought they were, the bright spot of that team, but we saw what Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones did. So look for more of the same from Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray, along with Taysom Hill. Give me the Saints in this one pretty easily. We know Sean Payton really likes Doug Peterson, so look for the Saints to really stick it to this Eagles team. Give me the Saints 28, Eagles 14.
I think this is also a game for the Saints offense in which they try to get more and more plays called for Taysom Hill, as he will likely be the starter in this matchup, although the Saints have not announced whether or not it will be Taysom again, barring whatever happens with Drew Brees' status. But I would assume they're going to keep him out for one more week and get him ready for that Kansas City matchup. But I think this is a big game for Taysom Hill, as this might be the last start he has all season. And he's going to want to prove himself on this last stage that he can be a potential future starter for this Saints organization. And if he can come out in this game, pass the ball effectively, and more importantly, just make the right decision at the right time, it's going to be huge for this team going forward. And I think the Saints win big in this game. Give me 41-23. Saints just dominate the Jalen Hurts led. Actually, excuse me. Give me 31-13. Saints win.
Okay, moving on to another game at the 3 o'clock schedule. We have the Falcons going up against the Chargers. Atlanta minus 2.5. But let's just start off with how terribly that Chargers team played against the New England Patriots last week. I mean, I know Bill Belichick, how great he's been against rookie quarterbacks, but that was just a terrible performance by the whole team overall. Patriots give up, they get 2 touchdowns on special teams. You made Cam Newton look like a good quarterback again. I mean, Anthony Lynn, his job most definitely will be lost after this season. But going up against a Falcons team, which we know can be, exploited in the back half, in that secondary, and a run attack with Austin Eckler back, finally, able to integrate himself into the offense fully. But I mean, the whole season long, the reason this Chargers team is 3-9 is because of how terrible, 3-9 is how bad their coaching is. All right. So give me the Falcons in this one. I know Matt Ryan, he struggled. He's been, he just hasn't had the great season that you expect him to have, but against a Chargers team, which we know has just been in free fall all season long, give me the Falcons.
Yeah, Laraib, I'm going to agree with you in this matchup. Raheem Morris, ever since taking over as the interim head coach following the firing of Dan Quinn, which if Dan Quinn was the head coach in this game, can you imagine a Dan Quinn versus Anthony Lynn matchup? Who would win this game? It would be 4 overtimes, both just throwing picks and just messing up in every way possible, but then the other team messing up. Oh, it would be a beautiful mess. But Raheem Morris has garnered my respect. He's gone 4-3 ever since taking over. His only 3 losses, 2 against the Saints and that one game against the Lions where they scored a touchdown to lose, which you never hear of. So I've been very impressed with how this team has rallied around Raheem Morris, and he's making a very good case of potentially being the Detroit Lions' next head coach, or the Atlanta Falcons' next head coach going into next season. So I really like how he's kind of turned this team around. Calvin Ridley had a very good game against the Saints last week. I expect the same. I expect this to be a high-scoring game, though. Both these offenses are very dynamic, and neither defense has really shown up all season. So give me the Falcons in this game. I'm going to go 45-41. This is going to be one of those games where you're not really paying attention to that much, but it's going to be on Red Zone, and you're going to see it on SportsCenter and just see, wow, look at all these highlight plays from all these great playmakers. But give me the Falcons in this high-scoring affair.
You have to agree with you. It's going to be high scoring, but maybe not that high scoring. And I think it's going to be close. And no team has lost more close games in the NFL than the Los Angeles Chargers. So give me the Falcons, 31-28.
All right, moving on. Now we have the Washington football team traveling to Arizona to face the 49ers, as that is where the 49ers are playing at the moment. Due to the COVID protocols in California, praying for everyone to be safe during these trying times, wear a mask. But 2 5-7 teams, we thought the 49ers were in a prime position to compete for the playoffs, but they're really in a tough spot right now. And if I was to tell you through 13 weeks that the football team and the defending NFC champion 49ers would be in the same position, you knew something had to go terribly wrong for the 49ers. But that is the situation we were in at the moment. The big thing for me in this game is how is Kyle Shanahan going to prepare to face this Washington football team? As we've seen, the Washington football team have a very good run defense. However, they are a very young team, and sometimes against very good disciplined running attacks, like we've seen from a New York Giants team per se, they've given up pretty big holes and allowed those teams to control the clock. And I think this is a game which Kyle Shanahan utilizes that to his strengths, and he gets a lot of his running schemes in place. Doesn't let Nick Mullins do too much. Doesn't let him get back in the pocket and let this San Francisco 49ers unit really get after him. And they made a lot of mistakes last week. Quite honestly, they turned it over in the red zone twice. But this team has talent. They're starting to get more and more guys back as the weeks go on. Jimmy Garoppolo will not be in this game, but he's expected to come back soon. Whether or not they're going to be in a position to compete following this game, they might, just not even try to bring him back. But I don't think that will be the case. So I like the 49ers in this particular matchup.
Yeah, and I like the Washington football team in this matchup. If this football team can go out and beat an undefeated Steelers team, what is stopping them from beating a 49ers team, which is not even going to be playing at home? The one edge that they could have had is playing in Santa Clara, but they're going to be playing in Glendale, which we just saw. They just got embarrassed. What was it? on Monday Night Football. Short week for short. Oh wait,
For both teams.
yeah, even shorter week for the football team. But I really like how they were playing in the X factor. Even with Antonio Gibson out, I still like Terry McLaurin, one of the better young receivers in the league. I know the 49ers, they have a great rushing attack, but I just like the trajectory that this Washington football team has been on. They're still vying for the number one seed in their division, so they're going to come out firing on all cylinders. Chase Young has had that defense playing out of their mind all season long. Give me the Washington football team in a tight game in Glendale, Washington 24, San Francisco 21.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you in this one, Laraib. I really like what Kyle Shanahan has done all season, despite the parts and the hand he has been dealt. Like I said, there were points left on the field against the Bills to where the offense was actually in a good position to score a few times, but missed opportunities really led them to being put in a position where there was no chance of coming back. And I think that goes for the same in this game, except on the other side of the ball. I think this 49ers defense has been playing very well, despite what happened last week. And I don't think Alex Smith is near the quarterback talent at this stage of his career that Josh Allen is, so he won't be able to exploit a lot of the things that the Bills exploited against those corners. I think they'll be able to sit in zones, play the short routes, play the checkdowns. Don't let the 49 or the football team's offense get much going, and that's a recipe for success. I agree it's going to be a low-scoring game, but give me the 49ers, give me 23 to football team 16.
Okay, and moving on to the Sunday night game, one of the greatest Sunday night games we're going to have all season long. The Steelers going up against the Bills. Buffalo -3 in this one, surprisingly. And let's just start off with the Steelers, right? All season long, people have been calling them, the worst 11-0 has been trending on Twitter, and just how bad their offense has been. But 11-0 was 11-0, and we finally saw the Giant come down last week to 11-1. But they still lead the AFC. And this week, the talk of the game last week was, struggling on offense, right? Couldn't get the run game going. Ben Roethlisberger has looked super stale with just his little rink-and-dink 5-yard in passes that he's been throwing to his receivers. But this week you get James Conner back, and you're going against a Bills team that a lot of people have underrated. But I think if there's one coach in the NFL who can hype up his squad more than anybody else in a game that's going to be really important for the Steelers team to maintain the number one seed in the AFC, it's Mike Tomlin, right? Last year, depleted team, no starting quarterback except for Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, and he was still able to get an 8-8 record. So we know he's a master motivator. This is a big game for that team, so I think I'll have to go with the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go a different route here. I really have been impressed with how the Bills have been playing the past few weeks. Josh Allen looks like a completely different quarterback than how he looked his first 2 years in the league. And he looks like he is the best quarterback from that draft class, even better than Lamar, hot take. But I will say at the moment, this Bills defense has been playing very well recently. And the Bills' biggest weakness is probably their run defense. And against the Steelers team that just does not run the ball that much, and you got Matt Milano back, you still have A.J. Klein as your linebackers, that's not going to be a big worry for you against the Steelers. And your strength is your pass defense. Tre'Davious White, all those boys in the back end are really going to put a lot of good man-to-man pressure on those young receivers, force them into some drops, so they've been drop prone all season. And for the Bills, offense, they're going to absolutely work the Steelers secondary. And we haven't seen a good quarterback, a good throwing quarterback, really play against the Steelers all season. This will be their first real test against Josh Allen and this versatile passing attack for Brian Daboll and the Bills offense. And I think they're going to expose this Pittsburgh secondary, which has not been exposed much this season, but in crucial times against the football team last week, you saw them just give up big holes here and there, and they're very injured at the moment, losing a lot of guys on defense. And I think this is a game the Bills, they're destined. This is a Sunday night game. They really make it known that they are the team now, and they'll only be 1.5 games back of the Steelers. So if the Steelers slip up again this season, the Bills could have an opportunity to get the number one seed. And no one was thinking this a few weeks ago, but it could be a legitimate possibility going in next week. Give me the Bills in this matchup. It's going to be one of the best games all week. I love a lot of the games this week, but this is definitely the marquee matchup. Give me the Bills. I'm going to go 31-28.
We're going to look back at the season and at the postseason, And this is going to be a game for both these teams, and we're going to look at how they're going to go from here, how they're going to adjust. But, you're exactly right. This Bills team, a lot of people have been sleeping on them. Josh Allen has been performing great. We just talked about in our recap episode earlier on this week how that Bills defense played outstanding against the 49ers rushing attack, especially with Matt Milano back in the lineup. But I just love the coaching staff of the Steelers. I look for them to get back on track against a Bills team that's very underrated. I think this is going to be a little bit lower scoring and more tight. Give me the Steelers in this one, 24. Or give me the Steelers 27-24.
All right, excellent. So now we're going to move on to our final game of the week. We have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cleveland to face the Browns. Ravens are favored by 2.5 points. This is a very interesting game because we saw the Browns really come out and show out against the Tennessee Titans, who beat the Ravens recently. And we know what happened their first matchup this season. The Ravens absolutely blew the Browns off the field. But tides have turned differently for these teams as Cleveland sits 2 wins ahead of the Baltimore Ravens in the win column so far this season. So, and Baltimore needs to get back into this playoff race. And this team, it'll be a battle of the rushing attacks. The Baltimore defense, which we thought would be a lot better against the rush, has not really been too great. They've allowed 111 yards per game this season on the ground, which is a far cry from what they did last season. So expect Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to have really good games against the Ravens, which they really have always had good games, but it ends up being a crucial Baker Mayfield turnover or just Browns unluckiness coming in and really jeopardizing this team's chances of getting through these Ravens games and making these games look a lot more lopsided than they probably seemed like if you watched the game. So do I think this is the Browns' opportunity to finally stick it to the big boys in the division and get it done? Absolutely not. I do not think that this week. I think the Ravens remind them, hey, we're 7-5. We're coming off another short week of the Tuesday night game. That does not matter. We're going to go into Cleveland, which was the formerly Cleveland Ravens, and we're going to absolutely wipe you out. So give me the Ravens in this game, 34-20.
Ever since week 1, when the Baltimore Ravens beat the Browns 38-6, the Browns have gone 9-2, and the Ravens have gone 6-5. Now, every single time we hop on this podcast, I flip and flop about how I feel about the Browns, and this is what I'm going to flip again this week. I'm going to go with the Browns. Last year, we saw this Browns team give it to this Baltimore team last year. So this is what they're going to do once again this week. Denzel Ward, hopefully he'll be playing in this game. He's come back from a calf injury. Myles Garrett, prime time, buddy. Go out there. If you want to catch up to TJ Watt, this is the game for you right here. We talk about every single Browns game. It's all going to come down to Baker Mayfield. Is he going to have those costly turnovers? Is he going to have, those just, brain farts where he throws a costly interception? And going against the Baltimore Ravens team, which we've seen has been struggling, the defense has been struggling, like you said, and they're coming off of a short week. Give me the Browns. They've been, give me this. This is going to be a big game for them. They got their swagger back, and, they're going to have a very nice, big win against the Baltimore Ravens on prime time. Give me the Browns. This is going to be one of the best games of the season, I think. Give me the Browns. Give me the Browns 26, Ravens 21.
If the Browns can, as you're predicting, win this game, that will virtually eliminate the Baltimore Ravens from playoff contention. So that will be a huge upset win to really just change the look and format of this entire division. I mean, and if you're John Harbaugh coming after in the offseason and you have the chance to pay Lamar Jackson, you're going to be looking at this Browns team and what they did to you and things to be very contentious. But I do think the experience of this Ravens team will get it done on a Monday night, and they will be able to beat this Cleveland team. But before we sign off, because that will complete the games from this NFL week, we have our locks and our upsets. I have the first lock of the week. So, Laura, I have the Seahawks beating the Jets. I think this is a lock. I know we do not pick our teams much in the locks and upsets because it's some voodoo. but it's a win-win for me here. If the Seahawks win, I get my lock right. And if the Seahawks lose to the Jets, you're not going to hear the end of it. So
I'm saying this right now. This game is going to be a lot closer than what people expect.
no.
The Seahawks team has been disappointing for me all season long. They have a history of just losing to terrible teams. Just look at last week. I'm just putting it out there. If the Seahawks somehow lose this game, I might just have to become a Saints fan. I don't know, but my lock is up next, and I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs at 11-1, going against a Dolphins team, which struggles on offense. With they've had a cakewalk of a schedule, honestly, and now they're going to play against the Chiefs. It's going to be struggle for Tua to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. So give me the Chiefs as my lock, and my upset. I already said it. It was the Vikings. If there's any way they win that game, it's by exploiting the Buccaneers secondary, and that's exactly what Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson are going to do.
So I'm going to have to pull a Laraib this week as I simply just forgot to pick an upset. But looking back,
I'm waiting to see which team are you going to go with? Because you've been hyping this up all episode for me. You weren't going to tell me who you're going to pick. Now I'm really interested to see who you're going to go with.
This will be the first time in Loose Laraib podcast history, and
you're picking against the Saints?
Nope.
Okay.
A single game has appeared twice in our locks and upsets. Your lock is the Chiefs. My upset is the Miami Dolphins.
Oh.
Chiefs have been in the cold way too long. They're getting to that Miami heat, that Miami
You say this every time.
They're gonna go down to Miami. They're gonna go to the clubs the night. They're gonna be like, oh, we're Super Bowl champions, baby. We were just in Miami when we won the freaking Super Bowl. Let's relax a bit. Let's hit the beaches. They're not gonna prepare at all. Andy Reid is going to be, sleeping all week, sleeping on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins simply – I really like their defense. They forced an interception 9 out of their last 10 games, and we know how good Patrick Mahomes has been with, protecting the ball. But the Dolphins have a really good secondary. They have Eric Rowe, who's a good matchup for Travis Kelce, Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, really good outside cornerbacks, and they can match Tyreek Hill's speed for speed. But they're going to need some help. Obviously, no one can match them speed for speed. So I like the matchup offense against defense. My biggest question, and this is why you probably locked him, is can Tua match Mahomes score for score? We have not seen that yet, but this would be huge if he can, and this will allow them to unlock the upset. But that will complete our locks and upsets and all of our predictions for the week. Absolutely stunning array of games we have for you. But that will be it for our predictions. Links of our Twitter and our Instagram will be in our bio down below, so you can see every single time we upload. Laraib, anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
No. I think we're good.
I think we're good as well.
All right. See y'all.
That'll be it for this week. I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe, and peace out.